Dennis Sneeden. Matt McKenzie.
Here.
Curtis Penrose. Here. Wally Hanson.
Here.
All right. Any public comment? Appears there are none. So we'll move on to agenda item 3, the public hearing on 417 North Main Avenue. All right, so 6:01 will officially open the public hearing.
Okay. Zach, do you want to start this off, and then I'll work on the actual.
Application appears to be filled out in full. What they are requesting is a variance from the requirement of a bathhouse for serving more than 9 spaces, as well as the requirement for having a sewer connection for each spot. Upon variances, we are asked to determine whether they meet certain criteria.
Where's the request? Or what's the property that's being requested?
417 North Main Avenue,
Which is?
the county fairgrounds, on the northwest side of the fairgrounds, where they currently park the campers during fair. It's just going to be upgraded. The first thing we come across is uniqueness. The variance requested arises from conditions which are unique to the property in question and are not ordinarily found in the same zoning district. Such conditions include peculiar physical surrounding, shape, and topographical condition or of the specific property involved, which would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship for the applicant. I found that the variance for not requiring the bathhouse is unique to this property as it's not intended to be a full-time campground. It's strictly going to be overflow for when the city is full and then utilized during fair, which it's already used that way. It would just provide nicer facilities for those people. The variance for the sewer connection isn't as unique as the city sewer runs right on the north side there on Armory Road. B is adjacent property. The granting of the variance will not be material, detrimental, or adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or the residents. The granting of the variance of not requiring the bathhouse will not materially affect the neighboring properties. The variance not connecting to the sewer runs the risk of sewage not being disposed of properly to reduce the risk of life and health hazards. C, hardship. The strict application of these provisions of the zoning regulations from which a variance is requested will constitute an unnecessary hardship upon the applicant. Although the desire to increase the profitability of the property may be an indication of hardship, it shall not be a sufficient reason by itself to justify the variance. And the bathhouse being there, it would create additional seasonal work, which they are not intending to be serving customers year-round all the time. Right now, their current facilities get winterized over the winter, so there's really nobody out there to actually maintenance them. And also, they're not built to handle the cold. The sewer would create a financial hardship, but as it says above, it's not justifiable reason for not allowing it or not varying from it. D is public interest. The variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, or general welfare of the community. The proposed variance shall not impair an adequate supply of light or air to adjacent properties, substantially increase the congestion in the public streets, increase the danger of fire, endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. The proposed variance of not requiring a bathhouse would not affect the public interest, and the variance of the sewage connection does create potential for health and general welfare of the community with them not disposing of it correctly. I mean, they have presented us their, that's later on, but their lease agreement, which would be intended for all the people staying there long term. It is their responsibility to do so. But you got to trust that they're going to do it, kind of thing. E would be spirit and intent. Granting the requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the zoning regulations. The spirit and intent of the variances would not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of our current zoning regulations, other than the connection to the sewer. That would be the big one. The minimum variance, it's variance requested is the minimum variance that will make it the possible reasonable use of the land or structure. The variance not requiring the bathhouse is the minimum variance allowed. It's not intended to be a KOA where they're going to be serving people year-round. There's honestly not a need to have the bathhouse in that type of situation. The variance that is requesting not to have individual sewer hookups or a dump on the site is not the minimum variance. That's something that we're talking about requiring all people to do, even if it goes forward in the future with the conditional use in the residential zones. That would be something they would have to do as well. I've gotten 0 phone calls from any property owners within the 300 feet that I'm required to send out letters to notice the public hearing and also what they're varying from. And from that, I would ask that the applicants kind of come up and give an explanation about what they're doing.
The charity.
So, essentially, the county.
Hey, Brett,
What's
can I
that?
have you go to the mic for the people that are, I know, there will be people online that will.
We're not as fancy as you guys.
Yell louder. Essentially, the county was
Mhm.
approached to, we have the campsites there mainly during fair and for the Tri-State Royal. But with the construction going on, my understanding was KOA was basically full, several other areas were filling up. And so was this something that we'd be willing to do? The commission approved it. And I think that that's slotted for 24. There's water and electricity for 24 campers there. As Zach stated, this is not something long-term. I don't know if Ashley put it in the variance, but it's in our application, but essentially we'd be looking at a variance for 18 months, essentially the lifetime of what we expect all of these crews to be here for. And the county has no intent on infringing upon any other business owners that have these sites for a financial purpose. This is simply just to be there for overflow, to keep those construction workers here, spend their money here. And I mean, did I miss anything?
That we could also just do one site, the dump site, instead of.
Yeah, and I think there used to be, and maybe still is.
There's a pole.
Yeah.
It's there, yes.
So technically, we have a quote-unquote dump site, but as Zach mentioned, we were very stringent in the proposed lease agreement, that it's their requirement to have their sewage pumped or disposed of regular intervals. They're financially responsible for any spills or anything like that. And then along the lines of anything else, that they would be financially responsible for that. Failure to do that they would have to vacate the premises immediately and forego any previously paid rent. So mainly just, it was brought to the county's attention, and we have a spot that will work, well, somewhat with a variance anyway, or at least a dump site, which I imagine through the winter months, they're not gonna wanna unwrap their campers every time and pull it over there, so they're gonna have it pumped anyway, but, that would be the proposal for the county's perspective.
Should have had you stay up there, Brent, in case anybody had any questions. I think we're thinking, give us a minute.
You might also ask if there's anybody else that wants to.
Yeah, well, I guess while we're thinking, we could call Brett back up. Is there anybody else that would want to speak?
I would like to.
Okay, can you take the podium?
If I had to stand up there, you gotta stand there.
I'm Dennis Balsam, I'm a landowner real close to over there. I don't have any objections to their variances and doing this. I looked at the plans that they had. To put 24 sites in that area is gonna be really cramped. They had it set up for 18 feet between deals.
I think so.
That was just based off of what the fair board uses for theirs, I
They would still
My
be,
camper, seriously, is 14 feet. Out to out, but the slides out. Everybody's got big campers nowadays. And if, my objection is, if we're gonna improve this, why don't we put sewer in for the sites that are already there and for some of the new sites, but I think they do need to make them wider, but, and things like that. That's my only objection. I mean, nobody is going, seriously, I camp all the time. Nobody is going to, they got a little tote deal, you can put your black water in, and if you got a place that's really close, they'll take it over there. If not, they're gonna go over there to the trees, and they're gonna pull the plug. I guarantee they will do it every time. You might be able to kick them out. And another thing, if the county does it, are they gonna charge what the KOA and everybody else is charging? Or are they gonna give them a special discount? You know, I mean, that's something to think about for the other, not for me, cause I don't have an RV park, but yeah. But that's just some questions I have, but, so, just something to think about. There you go. You got it.
I think that probably does bring up one question for me on space. And so what do we currently say right now?
25 feet.
25 feet for a width? Okay. So yeah, and I think the 18 feels pretty tight. And
Especially with slide outs.
yeah, with slide outs and all that, I don't know if we're a fire issue, having them that close.
Yeah, it would make sense that you'd have to keep the same standard that we have in code.
Which I think you guys could still fit quite a few at 25, couldn't you?
What's allowed.
And then what about surface improvements out there? Just parking on the grass or?
I think we've spoken with Road and Bridge if it's necessary, but again, where this is, Sid, what we're in business for long-term, so my understanding was it's just park as is.
In our meeting previously, when the county came and spoke to us about it, we did discuss whether to put millings or something else as far as the travel ways. Not in the actual spots, but where people are driving all the time. In order for it not to become a mud hole, but it wasn't really discussed at length or anything, it was just a topic.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I think that if we get anybody that wants to do it, and as time goes on, the Road and Bridge would have access to the material we would need to handle the road areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sloppy out there.
Yeah, it's gonna get, it will, but I guess that's the advantage of the county having that sort of equipment to work on.
And you're gonna assume it's actually gonna rain or snow here, so.
I'm always gonna assume that. I have to be optimistic. What questions do you guys have for Brad?
Well, the sewer is obviously an important factor. You know, I tend to agree that if people have the opportunity to just dump it wherever when no one's looking, they might just try it. And then if that does happen, who's on the hook to clean it up? They're financially responsible. The county's not footing that bill.
Yeah, you can catch them.
Yeah. Which
Well-
they've signed a lease agreement, so you've got at least the name and
Yeah,
the address.
what they do, just leave. What you gonna do, go chase them down?
My concern about that
That's
would
Ashley's
be
job.
not so much getting it paid for and getting it cleaned up, but you contaminated your site for everyone else that's there. And it won't get cleaned up the next day, it will take some time, and then you've got a problem that carries on for several days probably, and it just snowballs. So that concerns me, especially with that number of campers in one spot and no way to dump. I agree with the comments, I've been a camper too, and I know that that is a hassle, and those tanks fill fast. A family of 4 in our motorhome needs dumped every other day. So that's a lot for having a pump truck come in, so I don't think people are gonna do that. I think they're gonna break rules, is my concern.
Granted, most of these are single occupancy, so although there might be some families, but just assuming it's the workers and not entire families.
Even then, I'm guessing it's about a weekly project.
Yeah. I would agree. Having one dump station does alleviate some pressure, but again, in the winter, people aren't gonna wanna hook up, drive over there just to dump. Or use the little suitcase style dragger.
Yeah, the dump station, I think, would help. I don't know if it solves it, but it helps, I think. At least there's an option. Any more questions for Brett? Can we let him off the hook? I think you're good for now.
I do got one more. How, have you looked into what the sewer, what cost would be to have the sewer hooked up there?
No.
'Cause,
It's right there at
I
the
mean,
top.
that would be an
$250 for a tap.
improvement for the whole area.
You only
You
need
know, really, that would be an improvement.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're saying you want a variance for an improvement, well, that, to me, that is an improvement. I mean, you could, cause that is a big thing in a campground. The smell, and and there's no way you can get 24 campers back there. I hate to tell you that, you guys are gonna, if you can get 15 back there, I'd be surprised. Cause there's just not that much room.
Okay, that's probably
Yes.
maybe it for questions. I guess point order going forward, shoot the questions through me and then I'll ask so we can get them on the mic. So,
Thank you.
Kent, what's next? You got
Close
some
the
things?
public, if there's anything more to say for the public hearing, if not, we'll close the public hearing.
Okay. Any more comments? Okay, so 6:17, officially close the public hearing.
Now, for each of these, and this one's a little bit unusual because we have two different variance requests. So on each of these items, and I'm just doing this as a reminder, we go through each of these options because that's what it says in code, and actually, it sets it forward that that's what should be considered, is you have to have a statement regarding each one. Because then if there's an appeal from it, it has something to base on it, not just the final vote.
Yeah.
So on the uniqueness of it, then we can go through each section and then just, do you guys agree or not agree that it meets the criteria for that variance?
Okay.
Part of the variance. Uniqueness is the variance request on the, bathhouse, unique condition that arises from the spot.
I think I agree with Zach's comment that being that it's not a full-time campground, that makes it unique. If it was a full-time campground, it would need a bathhouse, but given that it's part-time and not intended for long-term purposes, I think that meets uniqueness.
I would agree, and it is, you know, as mentioned, overflow, and then its primary use during the summer, there is restrooms that are out there for people to use. So I would agree with that.
Okay. Wally?
No questions.
And then regarding the sewer, as far as the uniqueness for the property, or do you wanna go all bathhouse?
Let's do the bathhouse first and then come back and talk about
And come
the
back and tackle
Yeah.
the sewer for each of them,
Mhm.
okay. As far as the adjacent property, do you see for the bathhouse variance will not materially adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners? Which, up in the northwest corner, the adjacent property owners are the cemetery
They're all pretty quiet.
plot hole
No comment received.
Yeah.
and the farm field to the north. Now, the parcel itself is obviously much bigger than just the northwest corner of it, so it does include part of Rosewood addition,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I don't see any adverse effects with no bathhouse.
I agree that not adding the bathhouse would not negatively impact.
Wally?
I'm okay with it.
And as far as hardship, would the strict application of the provisions of the zoning regulations constitute an unnecessary hardship upon the applicant regarding the bathhouse?
I think Zach's comment that if there was a bathhouse, it probably would create some seasonal work. Without it, doesn't really change anything.
No.
And if it was full-time year-round, then that's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
They're trying to meet an immediate need.
Yeah.
Right.
So, regarding the public interest, all these different things will not, the variance desire will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, or general welfare of the community. Will the bathhouse affect it?
Yeah, I don't see that the bathhouse affects public interest.
I agree.
Okay. And then the spirit and intent, is it opposed to the spirit and intent of the zoning regulations as far as the bathhouse?
Yeah, I don't think it opposes the spirit and intent.
I agree. It is not opposed.
I heard a grunt from Wally, so. The minimum variance, is this the minimum variance as far as the request?
Yeah, not requiring would be the minimum variance.
I tend to agree.
Okay. Do you want to, I don't know if it really,
Is it two requests?
it's really two
I
requests.
think it requires two motions.
Two motions, that's
Yeah.
what, you were going the same place.
Yeah.
So, why don't we take care of the motion for the bathhouse first and then move to the other part?
Okay. So I move to approve the variance of not requiring a bathhouse for the RV campground intending to serve 10 or more trailers for 417 North Main Avenue.
I will second that.
Okay, moved by Matt, seconded by Curtis. All in favor, aye? Opposed, nay? Okay, that one passes. All right, now let's talk about the sewer.
We'll talk about sewer. Again, we go through each of these conditions as required by city code. The variance request arises from conditions which are unique to the property in question and are not found in the same zoning district, and which are not caused by actions of the property owners or applicant.
Well, I tend to think that, given that the city sewer is right there, and every other property around there is connected to the city sewer, that this property would not be unique.
Yeah, I agree. The proximity to the sewer, it is not unique in that regard.
As far as the adjacent property, is the granting of the variance for not requiring sewer, is that materially detrimental or adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners?
I think it does. One accident would affect a property owner greatly.
Yeah, there's a potential for it, and we should avoid that potential.
Okay. The hardship, strict applications of the provisions of the zoning regulation from which the variance is requested constitute an unnecessary hardship upon the applicant. Is requiring sewer an unnecessary hardship?
It's gonna cost money, no doubt, so that's a hardship, but the requirement says that that's not necessarily justifiable. I think it's part of the process.
Yeah, it's not a hardship. You will accrue costs to develop a property.
Sure.
Well, do you agree with that?
You need a second motion?
Nope, just need agreement or disagreement at this point.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Public interest, the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, or convenience or general welfare of the community.
I think back to previous discussion, there probably is a health and general welfare concern for, unintended dump.
There is a potential.
Is it granting the requested variance for not including sewer hookups or the ability to dispose of sewer, is that a, I'm putting myself in a corner regarding the language. If granting that, is that not opposed to this general spirit and intent of the zoning regulations?
This one's hard for me to wrap my head around. The wording is hard here too.
I would,
Well, go ahead.
I don't, it doesn't require unanimous among all of them to pick one response or another. I don't think that what they've described regarding a possible sewer dump in the location it's been brought up as a topic, they recognize it in some manner as well. So, it's a difficult one to answer.
It is hard to answer. I don't know that the request is against the spirit and the intent of the zoning regulations. But some of the other things that are going along here, and kind of where we're headed is, our intent is to follow the zoning regulations, so maybe
It is.
I don't know how to answer that one, Kent. I honestly do not.
I mean, not all development would require sewer connections if you're doing a park or something like that, but this is a commercial. Yeah, it's tricky.
Well, I think I could say that the request is not necessarily against the spirit and the intent of the zoning regulation. We're not trying to do anything unreasonable here, we just have a concern.
Yeah. The minimum variance, is the variance requested the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land or structure? Requesting not to have individual sewer hookups is not the minimum variance.
Yeah, I think maybe that kind of ties into the dump station. I mean, there are other ways to dispose of the sewer without a sewer hookup. The sewer hookup is kind of like maybe the Cadillac way to go. But
Yeah,
a dump station is another option, and I would consider that to be more of a minimum variance than the sewer.
Yeah.
I would agree. The dump station would be the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. Saying all that, now we have the overall variance, motion on the variance request.
Can I get a motion?
I think we should make a motion to deny the request for the variance on the sewer for 417 North Main.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Okay, so it's moved by Curtis, seconded by Wally to deny the variance of not having individual sewer hookups for each site. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right.
With that being said, would you guys be in agreement though with the dump station
Yeah, I think that
in
was gonna
lieu
be
of?
my next question, or maybe a little further discussion is, okay, what does a path forward look like here without individual hookups?
And all of these improvements would be a welcome benefit during fair season.
Yeah.
I think that's discussion. I don't think that's part of the, what does the code actually state regarding sewer?
I don't have it memorized off the top of my head, so give me a second.
Neither do I, that's why I'm asking, so.
Most of them I got down, but not all of them.
But what I was gonna say is, as far as the request to not have it at all, that's been denied. But now, as far as what can be done, is more of, implementation of the actual city code.
Yeah.
So that's not the role of the planning commission.
Yeah.
1950210T, or 19502T10 there. Provisions relating to sewage disposal in RV parks shall be as follows. Individual sewer connection shall be provided for each recreational vehicle space in accordance with this code. If individual connections are provided for RVs, they shall be of similar construction, design. Any sewage system connection to the city sewer shall be in accordance with all requirements of this code and shall provide sanitary stations for the sole purpose of removing and disposing of waste from holding tanks in a clean, efficient, and convenient manner.
So we have the sewer connections provided for each mobile home, but in RV parks, it's talking about
Did I say
sanitary
mobile home?
stations. That's what the language says in it. I've got it here.
Are you reading chapter 9 or are you reading the zoning code?
9115?
That's section 9115, that's.
So that's a different chapter. We're in the zoning code. We're in
Oh, okay.
19502T.
Yeah.
Bullet point 10.
So
Chapter 9's more so regulating the mobile home parks.
It is pretty specific regarding that, but as a consideration, and also because of the immediacy of the request, there could, that's what part of this was, is say no entirely, if there's another option available.
that's, I mean, I guess that's where I'm at. I don't want anybody to leave here tonight thinking that it's a hard no. What I'd like to find is another solution. If hooking up to the sewer is not, putting permanent sewer hookup is not an option, what's the next best thing? That sort of sounds like a dump, on-site dump site.
Or if there's 20-some trailers more than one
Yeah,
dump site.
oh,
so that it's
enough to
easier.
handle. I do think kind of where we're sitting right now, though, is we have to work within the current code or have another variance request, right?
Yeah. Basically, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But,
With their motion, could they say deny the variance for sewer hookups for individual sites in lieu of having a dump station?
they have to take the request as is.
I was just asking.
I think that's the path forward now. So the request was denied, so now there either needs to be another variance request with a different path if the sewer connections are not gonna be followed, or we have to follow the city code as it is. Those are the two paths forward. I need my glasses.
It does not zoom real well.
No, I know it does not on the screen.
So there, the way I would interpret C is getting at a dump station. shall provide sanitary stations for the sole purpose of removing and disposing of waste from, and now I need my glasses.
Holding tanks?
Holding tanks, clean and efficient and convenient manner. So to me, that, you could add a dump station or two and be within the current code.
Would there be some way you could design it to where they'd be in the middle of the stations, to where they could just drag their sewer hose over to it?
You'd have to have a lot of those to do that.
We've talked about doing one at each hole where you.
That's
put
kinda what I
the-
was thinking.
So like 4 of them would share
Mm-hmm.
one. Put that dump and then you line up for the next person.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we talked about.
That, something like that, I could see staff considering as meeting the code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's between us and,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yep. Okay.
That's good.
All right, we're gonna move on from that one then. I think we got some
Have a good night.
resolution of path forward. Brett, Ashley, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 4, public hearing variance request, by Marilyn Bull for 1620 Texas Avenue. So, at 6:37, officially open the public hearing.
You want me up there?
You can go up in a second.
Yeah, we'll have Zach do the quick rundown and then you can go up.
And of course, I forgot to print mine out. Will you pull it up on the screen, Josh?
What time did you speak?
Yeah, right there.
6:37.
6:37.
Yeah.
I just had a minute earlier on my computer, so I
Oh.
just wanted to make sure.
I was just guesstimating based on my.
Oh.
So when the original variance was filed, it was talks of possibly 3 or 4 spots. After discussing it, I think we're down to 2 spots. And that's kind of what we went with based off the size of the lot. The requirement is 2 acres. This lot is your normal 50 by 140, so 7,000 square feet. That's a big jump under the 2 acres. You still can fit 2 campers in there and leave room for setbacks and plenty of other things with that being said. Uniqueness definitely is unique, as most commercial properties are bigger than 7,000 square feet in the city of Goodland. The adjacent property, the granting of the variance would not be material, detrimental, or adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners. It's, the lot to the north is owned by the applicant. The lot to the west is vacant. The lot to the east is residential, and the lot to the south is residential. Not much is going on over there in that neck of the woods.
Josh, could you bring that down to the map? There we go.
I think the next one gives you the zoning.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't see it from
I need you to go back up though so I can read.
I'm going back. Let's see.
I forgot to print it out.
Oh.
There we go.
Hardship. The strict application of the provisions of the zoning regulations from which a variance is requested will constitute an unnecessary hardship for the applicant. Although the desire to increase the profitability of the property may be an indication of profit, it shall not be a sufficient reason to justify the variance. This property is pretty small. It'd be difficult to do much of anything commercial on a 7,000 square foot lot and actually make it beneficial. So a 2-spot RV park would be about what you could get out of that. The public interest variance desired will not adversely affect the health, public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, or general welfare of the community. Does not impair an adequate supply of light or air to the adjacent party. I can't read this far. There.
You go to the
There,
next.
substantially increase the
page.
congestion. It won't create anything for the neighbors that's not already there. If it's gonna be RV park type of situation, they're gonna leave for work, maybe come back at lunch and then leave, or come back in the evenings. It's not gonna be a streamlined flow of vehicles going through there all day and night. The spirit and intent, it is not against the general spirit and intent of our zoning regulations. It'll still follow all the other strict applications of the code. The only difference is it's gonna be allowed on a lot that's less than 2 acres. The minimum variance, this would be the minimum variance, as it's only requesting 2 RV spaces, not a total of 9 or 10 or 20 as we just had in the last one. And from there, I would ask you to get to the podium.
Yeah, if you would take the podium.
We're gonna get grilled now.
More than anything in grilling you, I'd just like to hear your words and your perspective about what you want to do.
You may not want to, I done talked to Zach. Take a break on. Anyway, you don't know me. I don't know you guys. But I'd like to tell you a little bit more about me. My husband Larry and I are from the Sharon Spring, Weston area. We farmed in Sharon Springs for umpteen jillion years. And we also did custom harvesting, living in campers for 15 years, off and on during the summertime. Until Larry got his fingers cut off in '99. Then we moved to Goodland, bought a home on 1209 Center. Then we were still part-time farming, so then we built out in the Hankey and Stout addition. Our home is out there. We're quite content with that until we decided to skinny down a little bit. So we moved into 1606 Texas. Put in a single wide there, cleaned it all up, put in a double wide, decided we wanted to get out of the city a little bit, so we bought north of town, rented out the property. We had a 24/70 mobile home, double wide. We rented it out and it burnt down. Come to find out it was meth lab, who we rented it to. Nothing really new, you know, that kind of thing happens. Anyway, in the process, I had 21 rental homes, and Larry and I remodeled 12 of them totally. So what I'm telling you these things about is so that you know I'm not a fly-by-nighter. I understand rentals, I understand fixing things up, keeping them clean. But you all said something to us last time I was here, that there were some times when new people would come into town, you would take them on a path and not buy places you really didn't want them to see in our town. And I got to thinking, is that 1606 block? Are we having problems in that block between 16th and 17th? And I got to looking around, and mine was one of the shabby ones. So I got to thinking, maybe I need to get this thing cleaned up. And of course, the RV parks are going on and everything. But I don't really want an RV park. I'd like to have 2 spaces for 2 trailers and 1 space for a cottage, maybe one of those small mini homes on a permit foundation. So it could be a small business. But the point of only having 2 trailers is because I know that eventually all the businesses will be going out of town. But there are always children that come in to see their moms and dads that maybe are in the hospital or they're in the homes and they want to spend some time with them. I'd like to pick up on some of that. I'd like to keep it clean and neat. I'd like to improve the 1606 to the north of it. And I took a look at the area around our block. And we got some problems with this block. We've got some to the north of my property that is just absolutely unbearable. I wouldn't live in something like that. And if I ever let my property go like that, I expect you guys to come down on me like stink on a skunk and fine me. The properties across the street, they're cleaning their properties all up. The properties to the south of me need mowed and cleaned, and some of the further south one need a lot of work on it also. I don't want to be that kind of person. I want you to be able to drive by our street and say, this is part of Goodland. So what I'm asking for is 2 spots for 2 trailers and 1 spot for a home. Mini home, part-time home, maybe cottage office or something like that. They will all have proper sewer. There will be no sewer tanks like some have around town, no garden hoses trying to get water to trailers. It will be done properly underground. The electricity will be done properly. I want millings. They will have access to the street. There's a little garage on there that is just really kinda shabby. Gonna fix that thing up. I don't wanna have a mess. I want something to look nice. Because I've lived in trailer parks, we've had nice homes in town, I like the people in town, and I want them to like us also. So if you would consider letting me do this to that property, and then helping clean up the rest of the block, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Maybe enough said. Maybe-
No, that's great. I appreciate the background and the information. That's good. So one question, I think you've answered it, but I just want to ask anyway. You're thinking you want this to be permanent? You'll leave these
I
sites?
really kinda would like that, because, like I said, I know there's fly-by-nighters. Harvesters, we were fly-by-nighters kinda. But mom and pop need their kids. And if those kids have their campgrounds, I've seen them parked up to the hospital. So if they wanna come and spend some time on our spot, I'd like to make it accessible to them and comfortable. 'Cause it's gonna have some trees and grass and be just like home kind of.
Okay. What questions do you guys have for Marilyn?
You might drive by and you can already see that I've had Mr. Yarger in there and he's been bulldozing things down, and I can't believe I apologize for the mess. Well, 25 years we didn't do anything with it, because after Larry got his fingers cut off, and then in 2000, when we moved to our house out north of town, they gave him 9 months to live with cancer. So we've been dealing with that, and he's a survivor, but we're not up to the 21 rental homes that we had in town, that we totally remodeled, 12 of them. We had to sell all of those in order to pay for illnesses. We went to MD Anderson for a year and a half, and he's doing fair for our age. We're 85. But I just think that it's time to do something about this property, and if the people across the street are fixing their places up, then I think our side needs to have some improvements, and I'm willing to do mine.
That's good. Okay. Any other questions?
Fire them to me.
You answered about 3 of mine while you were talking, so I don't have to ask them all now. I was gonna ask you about permanent hookups. You said you're gonna do that.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you about the, surface improvements. You said you were gonna
Yes.
do that. So you kinda answered the ones
And
I
they have
had. so.
access to the street, and I'm not sure whether we'll park in at an angle on that property so that everybody can get in and out really, really easy. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
To the driveway and the cement, and, or parking straight, but I kinda like the angle idea, 'cause then it's a little bit freer. But I was gonna tell you, there's 10 foot from the alley, then 30 foot for each campground, and 10 foot in between each one.
Okay.
And each one is 30. So that will hold the 3 perfectly. And that cottage home will be on a permanent foundation, and it will be nice also. It has a front porch on it. It's gonna be nice.
Where are you thinking about putting that on the lot? Does that go
That'll
towards
be
the
number
street
3,
side? Or
by the trees,
by
the
the-
big trees, right there.
In the top right-hand corner of the red box,
Okay,
you'll see there's 3 or 4
Yeah.
trees that sit
so
right
it goes
there.
towards the street side of the lot,
Uh-huh,
not the alley
yeah.
side, right?
And there's the driveway, and I'm thinking about putting in a couple, 3 mailboxes also. You know, so maybe they could have their own mailbox or whatever, I don't know whether I'll do something like that or not, but that 1606 property is residential that's to the north of it, and I kinda gotta get my head wrapped around that, what to do with that, but, that's gonna have a bunch of improvements on it too. That doesn't need to be sitting there, that's where, that to the north of this property we're talking about was where our double wide, our 24/70 double wide was. You can see the stringers still there. Oh, you can see the little old garage there kind of
Yep.
also.
Mm.
And it's pretty shabby. I didn't think it was that bad till they tore all the fences and the trees and everything down. I thought, oh my word. So, anyway, yeah, I wanna clean that up, make it look nice, and make it somebody, guys, you wanna drive by, it's okay, you know.
I drive by it every day.
And you've been watching the mess then, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, then, do something about it, please. We don't need to have the mess running around town like this. This is It's ridiculous.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. Are there other comments?
I have a question.
Okay, you can jump up to the mic.
State who she is.
From,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm Cindy Ordonez. I'm a member of that church on the corner of Texas and 16th, so we have some questions just as far as having RVs, is what I'm understanding. Is that correct? No, they're permanent.
There'll be RVs, one permanent and two RVs, but they won't be a lot of congestion, it'll be just two, and they might not be any of the pipelines, they may be.
Hey, can I hold you up for a second? Shoot the questions to me and then I'll swap
Oh, okay,
Marilyn out
sorry.
and I'll shoot them back to her.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're wondering, like, from my understanding and from hearing what Marilyn said now, is it RVs, is it something that's going to be people coming in and out, different people coming in and out? We're worried that way for safety issues, having children in our congregation and being around that. What if there's gonna be a lot of traffic? It's gonna be RVs
Okay.
coming in and out, or if it's gonna be more like permanent mobile homes?
Okay. What other questions do you have?
She's also answered a few of our questions, making it look nice, putting up some trees, doing the pavement and all of that. And I guess the question was initially, how many spots were going to be there? From the letter, the correspondence that we received, I thought it was going to be, 4 to 6 spots, which we were more concerned about. Now where it's like 2 and 3, I think she's kind of answered that question for us as well.
Okay.
I guess that's it.
Okay, great. Marilyn, can I get you back up there? While you're coming up, so let's talk about your traffic flow pattern a little bit. That does bring up a question for me too. How do you intend to get well, let me ask this first. Is your intention for these 2 spots to be someone brings their camper with them, stays a short time and leaves? Or are you planning on having something more permanent? Or you own the campers and they just come in and out of your campers? What's your intention there?
I have thought of that, but I would just assume that if they would bring their own campers and then they'll back in to the campsite and the vehicle will be next to it. And with so very few, then they'll come back out on the pavement or the millings and come out, and I guess they could go to the north, which would be past you, or to the south.
You're thinking, though, the main entrance and exit to your site will be off of Texas?
16th, actually 16th.
16th.
And they could go
Or
either
Texas.
way because it's wide.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about alley access?
No.
Okay.
I mean, they could, if it was an emergency, they could pull out that way, but that's not the way they're supposed to go. That's one of the reasons that I thought on the angle would mentally, that's where you go out to the street. You don't, straight, you might cut out to the alley, but no, I just really think that having it on an angle, a nice looking angle, would make it more, I want it quiet. I don't want a hustle bustle. And I can understand the children, but I don't want to, and there's other homes all the way around there, so I don't wanna make a,
Well, the other concern that would come up, the alleys obviously aren't built to the same standard
Right.
as the street.
no,
Yeah. The intent of the alley is not for traffic,
no.
just basically utility access and trash removal.
Especially large vehicles like that.
Right.
I know some of them, they end up going down it, but on a regular basis, it's trying to limit them.
That's why I considered the 30 feet rather than 20 or something like that, because we had slide outs on ours, and Larry'd be backing in, and I'd be trying to guide him in, and then I'd finally say, come on, take a look at this, where you're going, So they gotta have space, that's all there is to it, and you can't be comfortable if they have families with them, I don't know if they will or not, but you can't be comfortable if you don't have a comfortable spot.
Yep.
I'm more concerned about cleaning up the area, that's my biggest concern. And a rental agreement with the people that pull in too. I've always had rental agreements and leases or rent with all my renters. And I used to tell the boys that I rent to from school, just go ahead and mess up, I wanna keep your deposit. So I don't intend to just let this become a mess.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
Comments?
any other questions or comments?
If not, we'll close the public hearing.
Yeah, so it is 6:55. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. All right. Kent, you want to walk us through all the steps again?
We get to go through these again. Now, the variance request, and that's what we're judging all this on, is requests to receive variance from the required lot size of 2 acres to establish an RV park. So, uniqueness. The variance requested arises from conditions which are unique to the property in question and not ordinarily found.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this little 7,000 square foot commercial property makes it pretty unique.
I agree. Most of those, commercial lots can be much larger than that, so
Yeah.
it's definitely a unique one.
Is the adjacent property, will the granting of the variance, will it materially be detrimental or adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents?
I think with the limited amount of trailers that we're talking about, or spaces that we're talking about, the biggest detriment would be traffic, but with only 2 spots, I don't think that probably changes a whole lot in the traffic pattern. Marilyn's explanation of how she's gonna control traffic in and out of the lot too also takes away any concerns I would have about any detrimental effect.
And, if you were to develop it, small commercial properties, there would be traffic that would come there anyway, so it's not outrageous to consider the 2 trailers coming and going. I wouldn't think that would be a massive amount of traffic, any more than any other development on that lot would bring.
Right.
Okay, hardship. The strict application of the provisions of the zoning regulations from which it's requested. Now, the request is to have something smaller than 2 acres. Is that a hardship for the applicant? Is the request to have a lot smaller than 2 acres, is that a hard? If we would apply it strictly regarding the zoning, saying, yes, you have to have 2 acres, the hardship is basically, it's an absolute no.
Yeah.
And that's why the variance has come forward.
I think it makes it very hard for this little lot to be usable if we say no, given the size.
I agree. It's a little.
On public interest, the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, or convenience or general welfare of the community. And also adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property.
Yeah, I don't think I don't see any issues there.
As long as it, follows all the codes for developing the 2-slot RV park, I don't see there any adverse effects to the public health.
Do you have any objection? Well, okay.
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I just appreciate her concern for having a nice-looking neighborhood.
The spirit and intent, granting the requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the zoning regulation.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issue there.
I agree, that's,
Okay.
would otherwise be allowed.
And is this the minimum variance? The property owner doesn't have much option.
Right.
That's the lot she owns unless she would purchase adjacent lot and add it to,
It would be hard to purchase 2 acres right there. Yeah, but still, to put together 2 contiguous acres right there would be,
well, and the lot north of it is residential.
yeah,
It's not commercial.
it's not
so-
commercial.
Get into a different ballgame then.
So that would be a rezoning request, so
That's
it'd end up in a different venue.
Yeah, so I feel like this is probably the minimum.
I tend to agree.
Okay. Did you have anything more to state before the motion, Zach?
Not off the top of my head.
You did have included in your packet 2 comments from neighbors.
That's
Oh.
what I was just looking for. Can you go over those, Zach?
I don't have them printed.
I can read them if you want.
Yes, please.
That's fine.
The property owner Lee Dimick, who happens to be here as well, stated he is okay as long as there remains a buffer of a residential district before his dwelling. His dwelling is on the corner of 16th and Texas. He is also concerned it may allow the lot across the alley to be rezoned. And then Ruben Zalis, once the variance was explained, has no problem with them doing that on their property. So Ruben did not have a concern with the request. The recommended motion in the packet says, I move to approve the variance of reduce the required lot size to 7,000 square feet to serve no more than 2 RVs while still complying with all other regulations and standards for an RV campground. Now, I know the property owner mentioned another small, either house or building. That's not part of their
Right.
variance request. The variance request is only considering the RV park of
That additional building would have to follow current code.
current code, other regulations.
Right.
You'd have to follow all the setbacks, the 10-foot from
Yes.
habitable structures, all of that.
So you're looking for a second?
Actually looking for a motion.
Okay, well, it's right there on black and white on our paper.
Can you
I
read it aloud
recommend
to me?
that we go with that motion.
I said it previously. so-
Yeah. Just making sure the words are in the minutes is what I'm looking for.
Well, Wally, are you moving to approve the
There's a
variance
code in
to
there.
reduce the required size to 7,000 square feet to serve no more than 2 RVs while still complying with all other regulations and standards for an RV campground?
Yes.
Okay, moved by Wally, seconded by Curtis. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? All right, motion passes.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're done with that one.
Okay, done with that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome to stay and listen, or you are free to go.
Oh, I'm just nosy enough, I'll listen.
Excellent. I love it when we have people stay.
I'm really, really, really serious now. If I get to having a mess there, like some of the messes around me, do something about me.
We got a guy.
We got a guy.
But the question is, it's been said, it isn't what you know, it's who you know.
That's
So
right.
if it doesn't apply to everybody, that ain't fair,
Agreed.
okay?
Okay, moving on. Number 5, a public hearing rezoning request for Kendall and Jackie Cooper at 6th and Clark. So, at 7:05, we will officially open the public hearing for that.
The applicant was unable to make it tonight. The lots in question are on the southeast corner of 6th and Clark. On the south side of those properties, there is a cell phone tower that sits over there, which is in a different lot. Currently, it sits undeveloped in a C1 zone. The applicant would like to develop 2 duplexes on that lot and actually make it usable instead of it just being a vacant lot. The properties to the north are zoned R1, that is residential. Properties to the east are commercial. Properties to the south are commercial. And the properties to the west are residential. So it kind of sits right on that edge of being in between commercial and residential districts, single family. I think that would be a good buffer place for an R2 zone to go because it is higher density. You're gonna have more traffic like you would see in a commercial district, and then it would kind of taper off into that single family residential as you get further on. Would the proposed change create a small isolated district? Kind of. With it being no other R2 immediately next to it. There is, however, Handy and Sparks Towers right around the corner. That is zoned multifamily.
That's the red right
Yep,
there.
and that would be the red on the map right there. Is there substantial reason as to why the property couldn't be used in the existing zoning? No, you could develop a commercial property on it, but with a housing need in the city of Goodland, I think rezoning it to multifamily and putting 2 duplexes on it would be beneficial for our community. Whether it be short-term housing for the construction workers or long-term housing for our community, college students, elderly, looking to downsize, I think it'd be beneficial. The proposed change consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies set forth in our comprehensive plan? Yes. And is the proposed change consistent with the future land use map? In my opinion, that is also yes. For traffic, you have Clark Avenue and 6th Street. Both are collector streets with right-of-ways of width of 80 feet. And then it asks, will turning movements caused by the proposed use create an undue traffic hazard? I do not believe so, as all of the duplexes will have their own garage, their own off-street parking, and they will face Clark Street, not 6th Street, so that's already utilized in that manner on the other side of the street. The lots appropriately sized, the right-of-way is appropriate. There won't need to be any drainage easements, no utility easements. There are connections to sewer in the alleyway. The water, Neil has already spoken to the applicant about. They will have to bore under Clark Avenue, but it is a doable process. And electrical's in the alley as well, which Dustin has already went through and said that it can handle the 4 units being there.
What do you got?
And at this point, I would ask the applicant to go up, but
Not here.
I will try to answer questions for him.
So I'll just say, this one caught my attention the most because in my time on the planning commission, we have changed more residential to commercial. This is the first time we're going back the other way, and Goodland needs housing. So I'm excited about this request, honestly. I would like to see more of these come forward to build housing, so.
The other thing that's, to me, or from staff's point of view, BOZEC's and I's point of view, is the location of it is fairly close. You know, normally what you try to do is have commercial and then multifamily and then single-family residential.
Yeah.
Kind of have a graduated down, and this is an appropriate location to do that, to transition from the commercial to single-family residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
The other thing is regarding our zoning districts. Remember, our R1 zoning district is single-family and 2 dwelling. So it does allow a duplex. What this proposal is for to have more than that on the lot.
There would be 4 dwelling units on the lot, not just 2.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the service is fairly close, you know, you have Ace Hardware just across Caldwell, and you have Casey's just down on 8th and Caldwell.
Mm-hmm.
As far as service is fairly close to residential, to be able to serve them. And it's not, the property's been open for quite a while, and nothing's been done with it.
It's always been a lot, because it used to be an equipment dealership, and that was their
Storage
inventory
area.
lot. So it's never had anything on it.
And that's why the need to add hookups as far as water, cause there never
There's
been
a
anything
need
on
there,
it.
yeah.
That's actually had some, so.
Yeah, it's across the street on both of them, isn't it?
Yeah. No. Might ask if there's any other comments to be made, and we'll close the
Yeah.
public hearing.
Any other comments on this one? Okay, so at 7:11, we will close the public hearing.
Get a Slurpee.
Get us.
There were two property owners that did contact Zach. One was Dale and Ann Melton. They didn't understand the request at first. Once explained, they saw no issues with it. What the applicant was wanting to do, and then Senator Tim asking what the change was for. Once explained, had no comments.
Okay.
So there was no additional comments from neighboring property owners. In the consideration, Zach went through it. We don't have to do the whole tangle.
Yep.
But you are supposed to consider whether these are satisfied as far as the character of the neighborhood, the consistency with the comprehensive plan, the adequacy of public utilities and other needed public services, the suitability of the uses to which the property has been restricted under its existing zoning. Well, actually, it'll have additional restrictions going to residential, right, from commercial. The compatibility of the proposed district classification with nearby properties. And obviously, there's a split of uses depending on which direction you go from the property. And then the extent to which the zoning amendment may detrimentally affect nearby property, and whether the proposed amendment provides a disproportionately great loss to the individual landowners nearby relative to the public gain. But you're right, Chair, when you mentioned we've had requests to go to commercial from residential, that kind of comes into play. This one, there's actually additional things that might enhance the neighboring property
Yeah.
value.
So I agree with all staff comments on those pieces in there. A couple concerns that it would have had, and it's not really a big concern for me, is it does, like Zach said, there is a little bit of an island R2 created right there, but it's close enough. You know, we have other R2 within pretty close proximity, and you could argue that Handy and Sparks is a little island itself right there, and that's never created an issue. I like the transition from commercial to multifamily to residential. I think I wish we had more of that in the community. So I just think that the whole intent of this thing is on the right track for what the bigger city plan is, or what we'd like to see. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I agree. R2 is an ideal buffer between commercial and R1, as everyone's previously mentioned. So it's a smart thing, and we've got housing need, 4 new units. It's not gonna hurt.
Okay.
Now, the motion that's in the packet includes the wrong address, because it was
Yes.
copied and pasted from the
Whoops.
previous one.
My bad. I was making a lot of these in one day, I'm sorry.
Is the physical address 603 and 605?
So currently that address is zoned 0000 Clark Avenue.
Yes.
Once I got with the county and 911, those are the addresses they gave us, was 603 and 605. Those will be the actual dwelling addresses.
603 will have a duplex, and 605 will have a duplex.
Correct, and then there'll be 603A, 603B, and then 605A, 605B, but it will all be one property.
Okay.
They're not gonna be split. There's not gonna be a sale of one duplex and keeping of a second one. This is strictly
It's
a rental
fourplex.
property,
Yeah.
fourplex, but two separate structures.
Okay.
That eliminates them from having to do automatic fire sprinklers throughout the whole thing, which will save them roughly $30,000 per dwelling, give or take.
Because in the IBC, there's a requirement for anything over a duplex
That's correct.
to have automatic fire sprinklers.
Yeah.
So,
And the state fire marshal does not agree with 2-hour firewalls being acceptable in lieu of.
All right, any other comments before we get to a motion? Let's see if I can do this one. I move to approve rezoning of 603 and 605 Clark from C1 commercial to R2
Multifamily.
multifamily.
multifamily, yes.
Okay, moved by Matt, seconded by Curtis. All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right, motion passes. Okay, moving right along. Number 6, a rezoning request from J.J. Howard at 1612 Montana Avenue. So, at 7:17, officially open the public hearing.
The applicant is requesting to go from the present zoning of R1 to the requested zoning of C1, general business. The lot is .32 acres. The present use of the property is strictly storage for trailers and materials. The character of the neighborhood is residential mixed with commercial uses. Right to the south of it, there's a dwelling, to the north of it's a dwelling, and then to the east and west of it, there are also dwellings there. None of them are vacant. They are all being lived in at this moment. There is a business down to the south on the opposite side of the street from where the proposed zoning change is being requested. And then at the very south end against 17th Street, that's a vacant lot. It wouldn't create a small isolated district as the property to the south of it's already zoned commercial. Substantial reasons why the property cannot be used in accordance with the existing zoning. Yes and no. At first, the request was to rezone it to put temporary RV parking, and then once they were all gone, he would like to build a shop on it. He has since then, as of yesterday, pulled back his variance request to do the RV park. He strictly wants to rezone it to put a shop on it for business purposes. Is the proposed change consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies set forth in the comprehensive plan? Yes. And is it consistent with the future land use map? Yes. 16th and 17th, as we all know, after been doing this for a couple years, it kind of does this number through there for commercial and residential. So it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other on that answer. The streets with access to the property would be Montana. It is an arterial street with a 100-foot right-of-way. Turning movements caused by the proposed use create an undue traffic hazard. If he's just putting a shop on there to store his own work equipment and trailers and keep it out of the weather, it's just gonna be him using it. It's not like there's a multitude of people coming in and out every day. There's already appropriate sized lot. This right-of-way is correct. There's no drainage easements needed, no utility easements needed. The unique characteristic of the property, and additional comment from the applicant, was it's an empty lot. I want to do something on it. Being zoned commercial, he will be able to build a little taller to actually get the height for the doors that he wants to pull his trucks and trailers in and out. That's mainly his big concern on that, and then being able to build the size of shop that he would need to utilize it instead of the 1,200 square feet that's limited in the residential districts. And once again, I would ask the applicant to come up, but he's stuck in a cornfield right now.
Understand. So kinda, my comment would be almost, I feel like I'm saying two different things based on the last discussion, but here we are going residential to commercial again, but in this zone of the city, this is where we've had all the requests. And so I just bring it up as a reminder, kind of what we've talked about in the past, Curtis, since you're new, and kind of what we've done here is, those lots have been vacant for a long time and no one has chosen to build a house on them. And now we have somebody that wants to improve a lot, so that's, in the past, that's been our justification, and that's still where I sit today. I would rather see improvement than continuing to hold out that somebody's gonna build a house there. I think eventually we need to address the empty residential lots in that part of the city, but that's probably not where people are gonna build first.
First choice. There are lots
Yeah.
that want to build residential homes.
There's gotta be a general increase on building homes.
Yeah.
We've had a record year.
Good. Keep it going. Okay, so any other comments? Okay, so,
Sorry, I think I
oh,
did,
yeah.
can I have this question?
Can you step to the mic? You bet.
Okay, Cindy again. So my house is, I think, directly behind that property across the alley from what this proposed shop is at.
You're on Syracuse?
I'm on Syracuse,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Am I in the right spot?
You are.
Okay, now that it's not going to be an RV park, I was at first very concerned about it being an RV park, but now that it's not and it's gonna be a shop, what is that shop going to be used for?
Okay.
That's my big question.
Zach, do you know the answer to what the shop will be used for?
He didn't give me a direct answer as to what it's going to be used for, but I'm assuming strictly storage, considering he already has his business built and established on the highway. So Goodland Glass is who this applicant is. I believe that's the name of his company.
Yep.
So all of his stuff's already out there. This would strictly be for his trucks, trailers, all the stuff you see sitting out in that lot currently that you have to look at every day out your back door. It would actually be enclosed to where you don't have to look at it. It would be a building that would be sitting there.
So kind of, it sounds like his intent is to continue to use it for storage. He's just gonna have an enclosure on it instead of open storage like he has today.
And I've mentioned this during other requests to go to commercial. What the board needs to consider is it isn't just the present owner. It's whoever would use that property and also the wide variety of uses that's allowed in C1 commercial.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any further comments? Okay, so 7:23, we'll close the public hearing. Getting better at this, Kent. Yeah.
Now again, on any possible rezoning, what to consider. And that's included, even though it's the first item in the packet, I apologize for that. It's character of the neighborhood, the consistency with the comprehensive plan and regulations of the city, the adequacy of public utilities and other needed public services, the suitability of the uses to which the property has been restricted under its existing zoning, the compatibility of the proposed district classification with nearby properties, with commercial being on one side, it's compatible obviously with, to the south and to the southwest and to the southeast. But to the north is residential, and we've had this on other properties in that part of the town. Also to consider the extent to which the zoning amendment may detrimentally affect nearby property, and whether the proposed amendment provides a disproportionately great loss to the individual landowners nearby relative to the public gain. There were no additional contacts from neighboring property owners regarding this request. And then it's up to you all as far as the recommended motion, or what would you like to do?
So I think, I agree with the staff comments here that, I mean, I think everything's in line. Obviously, we don't have, it creates a little bump out on commercial now where we've got a straight line there, but if you follow that line on
It
down,
bumps out other
it
places.
bumps in and out all over down there.
Yeah.
So it's
It's not,
how the
atypical,
neighborhood
yeah.
is. And I think, given that the applicant's gonna use it, he uses it for storage now, he's gonna use it for storage in the future, but he's gonna make an improvement, is a good thing overall. It should help surrounding property values. So, that's my 2 cents. Any other comments before we get to a motion?
No, I tend to agree with like I said. It's right there next to C1. It's not like it's gonna increase traffic other than it's already being used by, so.
Yeah. All right, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the rezoning of 1612 Montana Avenue from R1 single family residential to C1 commercial business district.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Curtis, seconded by Wally. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? All right, motion passes. So, knowing that the applicant pulled their variance request for the next one,
Yeah, we should announce that, yeah, now that you have confirmation of that he wanted to pull the variance request, correct?
The city commission meeting.
And so the applicant has
Withdrawn their
withdrawn
application.
his request or wants to withdraw the request on the
okay,
variance.
so I guess that means we can strike the public hearing from the agenda and move on?
And then we can just move on.
Okay. Very good. We will move on to number 8, a review of off-street parking standards. Zach failed.
He
Guess
did.
that's you, Ken. He doesn't want to talk about parking.
Well, neither do I. That's beside the point.
Hey, thank you all for coming. Yeah.
Thank you.
Got it. I wrote it down.
On the, we have a proposed ordinance regarding the parking spaces.
Okay.
We had talked a couple months ago, giving you an example of Derby's parking.
Yes.
And then we included it on a possible ordinance to change it from, the current city code for Goodland. And we presented it to Curtis and Wally and Dennis at the last meeting. And their remarks were generally in favor of it, but they wanted to get the opinion of the 2 members who were not here at that time. And wanted to see if you had any other questions or concerns or comments or complaints.
No, I don't have any concerns. I looked through the packet and I like the way the chart lays out. It made sense to me.
It's a lot more understandable.
Yeah, it's much more clear. Yes. And seems to be easier to work with than what we had in the past, so.
Now, it does reduce the requirements
Right.
In certain areas, but that was one thing that was brought up to the board last time is we tend to have larger lots and people do have off-street parking spaces. This is just the minimum.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that people still won't have 2 off-street parking spaces for residents, etc.
And I would say in the spirit and intent of what we've been trying to do with cleaning up code is to make it easier to develop in the city. And so by making the minimum lower, we're not saying you can't have more, but when we say we make the minimum lower, it lowers the bar for development a little. It makes it a little easier for somebody to improve their property. So I'm in favor of that.
The next thing that we would do is set it for a public hearing.
Okay.
If we wanted to proceed. I have not heard any comments from Grady. Haven't been able to talk to him in the last few weeks, but If you're comfortable, you can just direct staff to go ahead and set the public hearing as needed. I don't know if we'll have enough time before the next meeting or not in November, but whatever time frame it is.
If you get it out tomorrow, you could.
Well, it has to be posted in the paper, so it won't get in until Friday.
Yeah, when, it would have to be for
So-
the December meeting anyway. so.
Yeah. I guess unless you guys have objections, I'd like to just start moving forward. I don't wanna speak for Grady, but I also don't think that he would have a lot of objection either, but,
It's
Well-
an improvement.
he would have an opportunity in the public hearing
Yeah.
to voice his opinion then. So I would say let's go ahead and get the public hearing set, and then we can take some action.
Okay. We will, staff will work on that. And what the process is, like the other text amendments we've done, and I'm doing this for Curtis's benefit as well, is we have the public hearing at the planning commission, which is just a general notice because it's changing the code for the entire public. So we don't send individual notices, it's just a general notice. We have the public hearing, and then the planning commission considers and makes a recommendation to actually approve the ordinance or disapprove the ordinance. And then it goes to the city commission, and then they have an opportunity to, and then they'll make the final decision as far as approve or disapprove the text amendment. So that's the procedure.
Okay. Okay, anything else there?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move on to number 9, review RV parks as a conditional use in residential neighborhoods.
Look at the topic at hand.
Yeah.
In your packet, we included in the communication form at the very end. Yes?
No.
Oh, PCCCF instead of
Yeah.
CCCC. We had a member of the community speak during public comment at a commission meeting in September after zoning regulation violations were occurring. The idea brought forth to them to help during we have this wave of different construction projects occurring, and we have quite a few people coming to town looking for, obviously,
Transient workers.
the places to stay. After a lengthy discussion at 2 different meetings about the direction, the best put forward was to consider a conditional use permit in a residential zoning district. Currently, RV parks are not allowed in residential zones. They're only allowed in commercial or industrial zones. We haven't had one come out. So the KOA campground is in a commercial zone. And Mid-America Camp behind the 24/7 is in a commercial zone. So anything beyond that, what we considered earlier tonight, the fairgrounds is actually zoned commercial. So that made it a little bit easier to consider that request. The other request we had tonight was actually in a commercial zone. What we have is a person in a residential zone. We've also had inquiries from several other parties regarding the possibility. But what came out of the discussion at the city commission also was that they didn't want to vary the requirements that are required of the commercial owners, the commercial owners of those businesses. What's required for RVs, and we've discussed some of that tonight in the 2 applications that have come forward. some of those are the very issues that came up. There was, at one of the meetings, there was both the owner of the Mid-America Camp Inn, as well as the manager and representative of KOA Campgrounds, both spoke during the city commission meeting and provided some well-needed testimony about the obstacles that they face, and that it should not be, and that registered with the city commission so that they would not be a uneven playing field for someone in a residential zone. And that's in addition to some of the comments tonight that we've had. You've seen, what are the concerns of the neighboring property owners? You know, additional traffic, is it going, and I can probably go through a couple other things that could be, as far as noise, odor, or other types of things. Not saying that they can't be addressed or mitigated, but putting it in a residential zone in a temporary structure, which an RV park is, presents additional complications. So that's what the discussion was about. That is getting to the point where we're gonna have a temporary, you know, we do have this wave of people that are asking, inquiring. It continues to happen both at the SCCD, Sherman County Community Development Office, as well as City Hall, and I'm sure county's getting inquiries. That's why the county looked at trying to do something at the fairgrounds. So it's not stopping. But it's not consistent either. It's intermittent requests. So, and I wouldn't say that this is a slam dunk as far as staff is concerned. Because, and we've had concerns expressed by our utilities, trying to provide additional power in these small lots could present special situations or requirements for the city to improve infrastructure to get the appropriate amount of power. And we've had another inquiry from a property it's in the commercial zone, but for a larger RV park. And it brought up concerns regarding power, because if you have 50 amp power per site, and the person was talking about 30 spots, that's gets to be, okay, we're gonna be looking at a bigger transformer. And probably equal to what KOA had to put in for when they improved the north half of their lot. And that was a decent cost to have the transformer put in there. And now the KOA owner spoke to them regarding that. We've also had concerns, or the water and wastewater department, as far as the sewer, trying to get it, because it has never been for residential use. So the sewer requirements on commercial can vary quite a bit versus residential use. So sometimes it's more for commercial, and sometimes it's way less. And that sewer hasn't been used hardly at all. They had a hard time finding it, so, but they ended up finding it. But I just make that detour with another complication just to say, I don't think this is a straightforward issue. One other consideration that the city commission had regarding it is also what was brought up tonight, as far as, okay, we're gonna have this wave for a certain amount of time, but then it'll probably go away. Their response to that, because it came up during the discussions at the city commission, is to make this an ordinance that would be valid for a certain time period. It would be,
Have a sunset.
have a sunset for allowing RV parking in residential zones.
Not just a time period where they would be allowed, but a time period when they would no longer be allowed.
Then the code would revert back, or somehow the language be such that it would no longer be valid.
Okay.
I have not worked with the city attorney, or Zach hasn't either, to come up with the language that would meet that criteria. But, that was the, direction given by the city commission.
So I've heard plenty of arguments from people in town both ways, enough that I totally agree it's not a clear-cut decision. I can 100% sympathize with the need for a place to put these people, so we capture every bit of revenue we can from the influx of the people and help the city. But I also totally understand not wanting that in my backyard, that argument. So when I read through the packet, I very much like the idea of a short-term solution that stops at a point. I don't want to put a conditional use in the code that stays there forever. If we do something, I want to see it as we do it for 18 months or whatever we deem is the right amount of time, and then that's it. We go back to the way it is today. It's not allowed.
The other, thing that would provide a protection to neighboring property owners is having it as a conditional use. Because that would require a process and an approval
With neighbor input and.
with notification to the neighbors and then the opportunity to provide input if they wanted to.
It also lets us look at all the things that we're worried about. So infrastructure, do we have the power and the sewer to
Right.
handle it? Do we have the space, what's
No.
the traffic pattern
Your
gonna look like?
backyard is not gonna work,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, if you've got a lot that's already tight, you don't have the space to do it. I think I would like that as well, conditional, and we need to look at every situation. It's not an automatic yes and it's not an automatic no. We need to look at it, and then we're only doing this for the certain amount of time that we have this really high need.
And then that 2-acre size, there's obviously not a lot of lots in town, in the residential zoning district, that meets the 2 acres. In fact, I could probably count them on
Yeah.
one hand, or
Very,
maybe
very
2
few.
hands.
Schools, maybe?
Right,
So the size requirement will be
every single one of them's gonna need a variance.
an issue, or that's part of the conditional use. Is the conditional use allowed to a certain size?
It might be easier to address that up front so that it isn't a variance request every single time.
Right.
That the conditional use has a smaller lot requirement.
But it might still be more than the minimum size of an R1 lot
Right,
of 7,000 square feet.
yeah.
We had one request tonight for a 7,000 square feet in a commercial district.
Commercial though, yeah.
Different.
But we also had, it was nice to have that the neighbor directly behind the property across the alley.
Yeah,
Because, and that was brought up during discussion as far as the use of the alley. And I guarantee you, we have alleys all throughout town, in this town, that the larger pieces of equipment, and I don't care whether there's a prohibition or not, they will use the alleys. And like was stated before, the alleys are not built for, they can handle the trash trucks, yes. But then all of a sudden, our street department gets all sorts of, we've had that with a couple.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
sorts
they're
of
gonna
requests
want
saying,
more millings, they're gonna want them graded, they're gonna,
our alley doesn't, well, and that happens already with everybody's garages off the alley. They expect the alley to be built to the same standard as the street.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But, we tried to go through some of it. I don't know if there's anything else that staff should be especially aware of in bringing any proposed ordinance to your consideration. We did not have a proposed ordinance already. We wanted to talk to you about it first. Plus, we had all this other stuff going on,
The
so.
agenda, yep.
The one thing I see about if we are going to allow it and then we do sunset it, you know, if somebody, I could see somebody wanting, you know, you've got an elderly parent and you wanna bring your RV in so that you can live in the backyard and take care of them as they're aging, trying to decide what to do with them.
So that, I think that gets back to what we did a couple years back with adding ADUs into the code. And so we
That's
kind of,
permanent foundation,
yeah.
which that's a lot different than a temporary.
right, but I think that would be where I would wanna steer them is, this is a temporary thing. If you need something more permanent, then you need to follow the code for an ADU.
There is the opportunity already, as far as for the building official to allow,
30 days, I can offer a temporary permit and I can extend that 30 more days one time, but not more than 60 days in the 365-day period.
and that might need,
That's pretty restrictive.
that's pretty restrictive. It might need consideration, as another outlet to allow, when the circumstances that you're describing, if it would be that. And I could see the 60 days, it works real well during warm months.
Yes.
But during the winter,
And it
that
would
may
still
not
have,
work as well.
and they would still have to have, you know, the electric sewer and not on that temporary one.
There's less requirements regarding the temporary one. Well, actually, there's hardly any requirements.
Other than them following setbacks and then fire code, 10 foot from habitable structure, 6 foot from non-habitable structure. What concerns me about moving forward with it in residential neighborhoods is we already deal with the issues of our previous mobile home parks out side of town on 27. It used to be out there kind of by Avalanche and Hurls. None of those lines were capped properly, so they were going out there for years and just finding sewer lines sucking in water, running all the debris and materials into our mains. So for me to feel comfortable with that, part of your conditional use permit that you guys would create would be having some sort of inspection at the end of it when it is done, proving that it has been capped and taken care of correctly.
I think that's a good idea.
Properly terminated.
And say,
And I think that would kind of alleviate some of the concern from our utility departments as well.
Yeah, you don't need 30 random sewer lines open at any given point.
Is there any other immediate concerns from you all?
nothing than what I already said.
Just being on this planning commission, and people know it, I guess allows them to ask all kinds of questions. What are you gonna do about this? What are you gonna do about that? I don't know. People keep asking me, well, when are you gonna do something about the, place out there just south of the interstate, north of the two new motels? I'm talking about,
Steak
what
and
was it,
Shake?
Steak and Shake? Yeah. How long's that been vacant now? Well over a year, right?
Probably closer
Yeah.
to 2.
But how long do they have to keep the property open? Till somebody either buys it or,
They do,
yeah,
and the building is not really in disrepair.
no.
Yeah, the property's maintained.
They water and mow.
That sign wasn't so dang bright, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we
Did
will
we give
try
you
to come,
enough?
we will try to come back with something for y'all to consider.
Sounds good.
And then we'll have to go through the process, the text amendment process, to set it for public hearing and blah, blah, blah.
Are we going to be affecting the vote in November, or the vote going to be affecting us? I'm talking about the property right across from the high school. Isn't that coming up in November?
The bond,
Yeah,
whether or not to pass a bond, yeah.
and I don't understand, there's a really nice house. Gary Slough has a house on the north end of that property, just across from the auditorium. Why would anybody wanna destroy that?
No, that's not in question.
Yeah, but the two properties just south of it are real small places, and then you got the empty lot right across from the high school.
Yeah, the school district owns the empty lot.
They own,
Yeah,
and they
And
own,
the
they
house.
own the first house, and their intention is to try to find someone to buy the house and move it, so not destroy it. They don't wanna demo it if they don't have to.
So,
but
Go
the
back to
vote,
your question.
yeah, the vote in November is going to decide.
whether the school district will proceed with that project.
Uh-huh.
The vote is for the, if we're gonna approve or not for them to extend their bond
Extend the sales tax.
and the sales tax.
That,
The bond has to pass first, and
Yeah.
then there's two questions, the bond and then the sales tax. But they can't, they have to have them both.
Then people ask me, well, how in the world can the superintendent of schools also be the girls' basketball coach?
That's beyond our agenda, so
That's
we're gonna
right.
come back to where we're at.
that's above my type,
Yeah.
my pay grade, I don't.
So let's get back on track. Anything else on that one? I think we gave you enough. Okay, let's move on to reports. Curtis, anything to report?
I do not.
Wally?
No.
I have nothing additional, I don't think. Kent? Zach? Okay. Number 11, minutes. Everybody have a chance to look at the September 16th minutes? I looked closer this time than I normally do because I needed to see what you guys did.
What we did with that.
So any changes, additions, subtractions to those minutes?
I don't believe so.
I scanned them. It looks like what I said.
Okay, is there a motion?
I will move to accept the minutes as printed.
Fair enough. I'll second that.
Okay.
Moved by Curtis, seconded by Matt. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I will motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Curtis, seconded by Wally. All in favor, aye?